If you've ever ridden a horse through the mountains, hooked up a trout on a fly rod, or perhaps even dreamed of such things, then this is the show for you. Hi everybody, I'm Tim Brockman, the producer-director of High Country Fly Fishing, and I want to welcome you to the only series on television that each week uses horses and mules to reach some of the most remote fly fishing spots anywhere in the Rocky Mountains. This week, our host, Scott Steinfeld, will be fishing Peace Lake, a great little spot that lies about 15 miles in the backcountry at an altitude of nearly 8,700 feet. We'll be going after cutthroat trout, so please join us and come along for some great western adventure on High Country Fly Fishing.
Our trip today will take us through the Beartooth Mountains, which are just northeast of Yellowstone National Park in south-central Montana. We're headed for a base camp about 20 miles in, which makes it a 6.5-hour ride. Because these mountains are so rugged, the only way to travel is by horseback, with the mules packing gear.
Hello everyone, welcome to another beautiful day on High Country Fly Fishing. Boy, that country we came through yesterday was absolutely spectacular. You know, it's hard to describe such incredible scenery, but it was something that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. Look forward to seeing it again too. Part of the western adventure here on High Country Fly Fishing is just getting to the lakes that we're going to fish. On today's program, we're going to head to Peace Lake, which is off in this direction about 4.5 miles. I'm going to grab me a horse and a mule, load up and get going off in that direction, and I want you to come along with me. One of the great experiences about being in the high country is sharing this experience with your horse. I've had horses a good share of my life and have enjoyed them in a lot of different things, but I've never enjoyed anything as much as being on my horseback up in the high country and sharing it with them. I love the way that they smell and the way they feel underneath me, and I enjoy more than anything seeing them enjoy the high country, eating the fresh grass and wandering through the trees and kind of enjoying themselves as much as I do. Well, we finally made it into Peace Lake. You know, this lake is about 8,500 feet and it should be just teeming with cutthroat trout. This lake is so remote, as a matter of fact, that we can't find it in any reference books. And I know for a fact that this lake probably doesn't get visited but probably once every 5 years. So it's going to be a pretty exciting experience for us to get into the water and see what we can find. You know, even though this ride was only 5 or 6 miles in, it still is over rugged country. And I'm a big one on taking care of my livestock first. So I'm gonna get Impulse kind of on his own, and I'm gonna come over here and take care of Rosie. All right, there we go. Got that pack off, and now that I got my livestock taken care of, I'm gonna change into my wading gear and I'm gonna get in the water. Well, we finally made it into the lake. It was a heck of a ride. Took us many hours to get here. The most exciting thing about this lake this year is that there is no question that we are the very first fly fishermen to be here. I'm going to cast and see what we can catch Typically in these high mountain lakes like this, there isn't a lot of size to these fish. They only have about 1.5 to 2 months of growing season. So we're not expecting big fish, but a lot of fish. The kind of fish we're gonna expect to catch here on this lake, I believe, will be either brookies or cutthroats. So let's see if they make a liar out of me. One thing about these high country lakes that you want to keep in mind is that the fish tend to swim around the shoreline. They cruise the shoreline looking for food. And so in order to interest them when the fly may not be in their feed pattern, you want to give a slight twitch to the fly occasionally. And that will kind of catch their attention and they'll come over and take the fly. There he is. Oh, baby. There he is. Ooh, nice little high country fish. Let's bring him in and see what we got. Looks like it might be a little cutthroat. Always want to wet your hands a little before you handle these fish to try and avoid any sort of damage to their scales. One little buddy. There we go. My little fella. Looks like he's a little cutthroat. Beautiful little high country cutthroat. A lot of fun to whip, catch, and a lot of fun to hold in your hand and look at. Yeah, he swam off. No worse for the wear. Well, let's go get ourselves another one. One thing I've really come to appreciate about the high country is even though this area experienced a vicious burn in 1988, which was part of the Yellowstone fire, it has kind of created a different kind of beauty. It's really unique. One thing I've come to appreciate, I think, is how the openness has created new life for plants and shrubs that you couldn't see before. As I understand it, there is some plant life that's here that has come back that biologists originally thought was extinct before the fire. Another thing I really like too about the openness is how easy the game are to see. And the nice thing is that you can see deer and fawns and moose and elk and other things that before you couldn't view because of the denseness of the timber. But now that it's wide open, that game is really easy to spot and kind of observe, which makes it very pleasant for the high country experience. Oh, there he is. Ooh, missed him. Missed him. They like it when you twitch it. I think I was a little quick on the pickup there. Took it right away from him. Oh, there's one. Geez, no more got it in the water. And he took it. Of course, another pleasant experience about the high country is the fishing. There he is. Let's bring him in. It looks like a nice little 8 to 10 inch cutthroat. Yeah, let's get him caught and back out where he can go play with his buddies. Okay. The thing you want to do is make sure your hands are wet and also use barbless hooks so that you can get the hook out without too much damage to the fish, just like that. There he is. Whoop, and back in the water he goes. Well, we'll be back soon with more from the mountains on high country fly fishing.
When High Country Fly Fishing returns, we'll show you how to saddle a pack mule.
There are special saddles that are made just to pack cargo on mules and horses. Today I'm going to show you how to saddle a mule using one of those saddles. One thing that's very important in saddling an animal, particularly a mule or a horse, is you have a blanket that's the right size. One common mistake is that most packers use right saddles, but you know, the backyard horseman doesn't. They tend to get a blanket that's too small, and you want a blanket that's big enough that it's showing all the way around the entire saddle. This is a Decker type saddle. It's the one that I use most common when I'm in the backcountry. I like packing this saddle. It's lightweight and very, very versatile. So let's throw this Decker saddle on Kate. You know, one thing that you got to remember is when you expect your horse to have manners, you've got to have manners as well. When I approach the mule, I always make sure that she knows where I'm at. Pat them on the neck, talk to them a little bit, scratch them so that they kind of relax. And when you go to throw the saddle on their back, don't heave it up there and slap it on them. Take your time and throw the saddle out and bring it back on top of the blanket, much like this. Just like that. What'll happen there is all the rigging will come out around the saddle and it'll go to the other side of the mule without coming over the top of the mule and slapping her or him on the side. Okay, I'll give it a couple of shakes like this, settle it in position, walk around behind your mule, make sure they know where you're at, rub them like this, come to the other side, make sure all the rigging is not tucked up under the saddle and in good position. And I like to make sure also that when I'm packing the mule to head out, that the blanket to the rear of the horse is lined up with the rear of the Decker saddle. You want as much blanket out the front as you can get. So I line them up level here and leave the excess out here. You'll find it when you're going down the trail with a load on. This blanket will work its way back and find its position. When you get there, it'll be exactly where it should be. Well, let's go around the other side and kind of get this stuff taken off of her. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to briefly go through the saddling procedure. Now, this is the breast collar. We tuck it up under here to hold all of the rest of the rigging in place. So I pull that off first. I take the cinch, gently drop it on the other side. The breeching I bring to the rear. Tail piece I drop over the mule. Just that in position. I like to slide the saddle back a little bit. Drop the breeching so I can pull the tail out without wrenching on the base of the tail on the mule's bum. Then I bring it forward, getting it in position like that. After I get the breeching in place, I reach under, grab the cinch, and go right ahead to cinching up the front sitch, making sure that it's snugly behind the leg of the horse, but not tucked so tight here that it rubs her raw. Okay. Now I've got the cinch up and the latigo is tightened. I always put my knot in here and I make sure that I tie this in a loop, just like that. And the reason I do is if I'm in trouble, I need to drop the saddle, I can reach up and pull it loose, just like that. So now I got that in place, I'm going to reach under her neck, grab her breast collar, snap it on, we're ready. One thing you want to be careful to do when you're reaching around for that, I don't like to go over the back, and I don't like to duck under here in case the mule gets spooked. He's not going to hurt you. Good girl.
Stay tuned for more fishing action on Peace Lake when we return on High Country Fly Fishing. As Scott mentioned a little earlier, this entire region was devastated by the Yellowstone Park fires of 1988. Since that time, however, we've witnessed exciting changes in the park and here in the surrounding areas. Let's take a second to learn more.
I think we learned, among other things, how powerless we are to control nature, and that to me is one of the significant lessons of what happened here. Death is a beginning rather than an end. The whole scheme of nature is constant change and one beginning after another, a new manifestation of the fundamental elements of our natural world. Today, the park is visited by over 2.5 million people annually, and we have experienced that kind of visitation for the last decade at least. Old Faithful and all of the traditional symbols of Yellowstone, the images that people conjure up in their minds when you mention the term, the geysers, the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, Yellowstone Lake, the Absaroka Range, the Gallatin Range, the mountains surrounding the vast Central Plateau, and well over 1 million acres of the forested Central Plateau were unaltered by fire. Simply were not touched. Geysers, of course, cannot burn. Old Faithful is still as faithful as ever, as are all of the geothermal features. Yellowstone Lake did not boil away, as some people thought it had. As a matter of fact, I think if you were to ask at random several 100,000 visitors who had come to Yellowstone at various times in their life, why did you come, you would have one of several answers. We came to see bears, we came to see elk or moose, the large, what is known as charismatic megafauna. We came to see the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone Lake. Virtually none of them would say that they had come to see mile after mile after mile of old-growth lodgepole pine. And old-growth lodgepole pine is what was affected by the fire. My view of Yellowstone now is that it is a significantly more exciting and beautiful place than it was, and that Yellowstone is thriving, and that there's abundant life here.
Welcome back to High Country Fly Fishing. We're up here at about 10,000 feet on Peace Lake in the Beartooth Mountains in the beautiful state of Montana. And being this is a fishing show, let's do some fishing. As I mentioned earlier, there's no question in my mind that we're probably the first fly fishermen in here this year. Remember, we're about 10,000 feet in a high country lake. What I expect to catch here is probably brookies and cutthroat. There is not a lot of size to these fish because their feeding season is only about 2 months, but we do expect to see a lot of fish. When I'm fishing on these high country lakes, I prefer to bring 2 rods, one 8.5 for 3 weight and another a 9 for 5 weight. I like the 5 weight rod in a 9 foot because I like something that'll cast distance and also do a little bit better in the wind. Fish on, yeehaw. We moved down at the other end of the lake because we saw some rising fish down here, so we came down to give it a try. Second cast in, hook up another cutthroat. Nice fish. I love the way these fish fight. They have the heart of a lion. There he is. Let's get him in and release him. Let him go back home. There he is. Whoop, and he's off and running. Didn't take him any time to get out of here. Nothing like cutthroat trout in a high mountain lake here in the Beartooth. I love to do this. It's so great being up here in the high country. We had a great horse ride in beautiful country. There's a beautiful sunset occurring right in front of us. And the beauty of it all is we are enjoying it all by ourselves. Have not seen another living soul for a few days. Ooh, fish on. There he is. Ooh, this is a nice strong fish. Yeehaw. Let's get a good look at him here. Come on, Billy. Come on. Ooh, there he goes. Okay. Let's get him in here. Another cutthroat. Looks like he goes about 12, 14 inches. Come on, buddy. There we go. Bring him up. What a great experience. Now let's turn him back and send him home. There he goes. Boy, that was a lot of fun. Let's get out there and see if we can catch another one. There he is. Yeehaw. Another one. Come on, Bubby. Boy, these fish fight. It's amazing for their size how active they are. Come here, little buddy. Boy, it's important to use barbless hooks. It makes it so easy for the fish and easy for you to get them out of the fish. We get them back in the water just as quick as we can. There he is, another high country cutthroat. Now let's see if we can get this boy going. Come on, son. There you go. And he's off. Well, that didn't bother him too much. It sure was a lot of fun for me. You know, one thing you just have to expect in the high country is that when you get to these lakes, a lot of the fish are smaller. That's just the nature of the growing environment that they have to live in. It doesn't matter at all to me though. I enjoy catching them. They have the heart of a lion. They hit the fly with a vengeance, and it is a lot of fun. Ooh, fish on. There he is. Ooh, coming out of the water. All right. Come here. There he is. Well, I'm going to reel up some of this excess line. There we go. Get him here where I can fight him off the reel. There he is. Another cutthroat. Looks like they all been cutthroat today. Bring him in here where we can release him. Bud. There we go. There's our cutthroat. Nice fish. Now let's send him back home. Come on, little buddy. Yeah, he's breathing. Get him to take off. And there he goes. You know, it's hard to take a break from the fishing, but let's take a minute and talk about fly selection. When we got out here today, I saw some brown caddis on the water and yellow sallies and a variety of other things. And the fish weren't really selective about any one particular fly, so I went to my fly box. I chose this particular humpy pattern because I felt it covered all my bases. It had the size, shape, and color of most anything I saw in the water. This particular humpy has a grizzly and brown hackle at the front, a yellow underbody, deer hair over the back, and black moose tail at the rear end. Remember in the high country that impressionistic patterns that cover a wide variety of insects you see in your particular area are all that you need. So just select those kinds of patterns and you'll do well up here.
We'll be right back with more from the mountains of Montana right after this.
Wow, what a great day we had in the high country of Montana. You know, Peace Lake is a memory that's going to stay with me for quite some time, and I hope it does with you too. Well, it's getting kind of late and we're tired and hungry, so I'm going to head back to base camp, and I hope there's a great big hearty meal on the open fire that's there waiting for me. So I'm going to see you next week for more of high country fly fishing.